Boys and girls, welcome back to the Carnage House. We've got a big interview today with the Director of the Australia-China Relations Institute at UTS and economist and academic by trade, Professor James Laurenceson. How are you?
Good, thanks, Dougal. Good to be with you.
Well, thanks for coming on. We're going to focus on China today and the Australia-China relationship and talk about a few different things. But I think the most pressing issue on people's minds as of today is the coronavirus.
Right.
And I checked this morning the stats. There's about just under 25,000 cases worldwide, just under 500 deaths and 14 active cases in Australia. Some of them might have recovered, I don't know.
3, as I understand it, are already out of hospital, yes.
Okay, beautiful. And Scott Morrison has decided that all flights coming back from mainland China to Australia, all the passengers must first go to Christmas Island to get quarantined for 2 weeks, right? So the first question I want to ask you is, how do you think Scott Morrison's response is? And what should Australia do about it?
Yeah, so he's been pretty much on the front foot, hasn't he? I mean, the US sort of took that strong action, and very soon afterwards, Scott Morrison followed suit. And I've been very clear to say that, you know, it's important that we have strong public health responses. I think there's legitimate questions being asked in terms of those Australians being quarantined on Christmas Island. We know other countries haven't done that. So, for example, the Americans, they've taken some similar measures, but they flew people from Wuhan, the epicenter of the viral outbreak in China, to California. The Japanese flew them to Tokyo, and we flew ours to Christmas Island. So, you know, I think there's some fair questions to be asked about whether that's the appropriate response. And I think it'd be in Scott Morrison's own interest to get on the front foot and explain that as well. Why is it that Australia has taken that approach? There may be some sensible reasons for it, but I don't think we've had that articulated as clearly as it could have been.
And how serious do you see the virus as being? Because there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of hype about it, but it also seems, I think there's a 2% fatality rate around about. Should we be worried about the virus?
Yeah, Dougal, I'm happy to listen to the medical experts, right? Yeah. So I don't think you want to be listening to me or anyone else, frankly. So if Australia's medical authorities are saying, look, stopping these flights is a good idea, or preventing Chinese tourists and students to come, well, that's fine. I mean, they're the ones with the expertise. Again, I think it's important that the reasons are explained, because we know other countries aren't doing that. So I think of the UK, for example, that's a country Australia would usually regard as pretty like-minded to us. They're letting Chinese tourists and students. Canada, another one, you know, liberal democracy, OECD country, they're not doing that. So again, there could be some reasons why Australia is taking a different approach, but I think it'd be helpful if that's articulated. Otherwise, what happens is people just start asking questions, right? And rumours spread, and then it becomes a bit of a mess.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I read an article, this is just me spitballing here. I think I saw an article that said the coronavirus, as you know, people aren't working, they're not really going outside, is costing the Chinese economy like 200 or 300 billion. I think it might have been from your Twitter feed, actually.
Right, okay.
What's the effect going to be on China? Can China recover? Well, what's kind of the outlook, do you think, for China over the next few months?
Next few months, pretty nasty. And I think the big thing to remember there is that the Chinese economy now is not driven by exporting manufactured goods as it was 10 years ago. Domestic consumption is the big driver, the services economy in China. So not manufacturing, not primary industries, it's restaurants, tourism, that sort of thing. That's the big driver. Last year, about 2/3 of China's overall growth came from domestic consumption. Now that is taking a massive hit at the moment. Chinese people just aren't going out of their apartments. Yeah. So in other words, they're not participating in the services economy. I guess there's an online services economy, but there's no doubt that is a key part of the economy now. And China's economy, I'm still pretty positive overall, but it has become a bit of a single-engine aircraft in that 10 years ago, manufacturing was going great guns, services was going great guns. Now manufacturing's leveled off, so it really has been services that has been driving things, and now that's taking a hit. So yeah, it's not pretty for China.
I mean, some of my friends just can't go outside of their house, their dormitories. One of my Chinese friends did like a series of Instagram stories about kind of what people are doing inside their own house to keep them occupied, because they can't leave their own house like 3 weeks. And there was a good one of like a Chinese guy fishing in his fish bowl,
Right.
just trying to catch his own fish. So it was just in
Guaranteed
this little bowl.
to get a catch, I imagine.
Or people making like 10-pin bowling alleys with like bottles and things like that. I mean, it seems like if people actually aren't going outside, I mean, it's going to be really hard for a lot of the Chinese people, right? Like shop owners,
Absolutely.
everybody.
Absolutely, yeah. And look, that has knock-on effects for Australia. I'm sure we'll probably get onto that. But a lot of Australian, premium food and beverages that are consumed at restaurants and hotels, well, people aren't going anymore. So, there will be an impact on beef, wine, those sorts of things that we've actually done really well at selling to China, particularly in recent years.
Okay, for sure.